Good.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Keeping It Spiritually Simple. I am your host, Sandra. And once again, we have a guest that, is doing an ordinary life and is experiencing some extraordinary things. And we're going to hear how she incorporates those into her daily life now. Welcome, Unlikely Channeler. How are you today?
Hi, Sandra. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Got a lot of snow up here near the DC area yesterday, but other than that, we're plugging along.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys got a lot of, rough travel snow.
Yeah, exactly. So you have a channel out now where you are receiving messages and giving some pretty amazing information to people. And it's short, sweet, and to the point, which is amazing. So is this something that you've always been able to do, or is this newer for you since a lot of people are awakening to the fact that we're more than who we are in this physical body?
Well, actually, I think I've been doing it all my life, honestly. I really do. Although I refused it until I was probably 50. Because because of my age and what, you just work and you get into your career and all those things. But through the whole time, when I was very, very young, I have some funny stories. My family thought I was kind of crazy, and probably the neighbors did too, but I would talk to something. I don't know what I was talking. They don't know what I was talking to. And then at a certain age, I think I was about 18, I'm like, no, I want to be a secretary. I'm going to be the best secretary. I don't have time to talk to you, so you're going to have to wait, And that, when I look back at that, I'm like, what was going on in my life at that time? But through my whole life, I but looked into numerology, astrology, what's it called? Graphoanalysis, handwriting analysis, palmistry. My mother was really, we lived in the southern part of Colorado at the time. That's where we grew up. And there was an old Indian woman who taught her reflexology, and in the 60s, nobody really knew what that was, but that woman was just amazing. So through my entire life, I've just been building on knowledge. And then all of a sudden, someone said, hey, do you want to go to this class on connecting with your spirit guides? And I'm like, yeah, okay. I could not at all. I couldn't meditate. I couldn't get into that, whatever meditation is, whatever state that is. I still don't know how to explain that. And I took the QHHT course online because I couldn't afford to, go see Dolores Cannon, but I was bound and determined to meet her. She died before I was able to do that. But I think what that did was it taught me Theta, that state. And then I took the course, that training. It really wasn't a training. It was just a bunch of people getting around a table. And all of a sudden I was able to meditate. And as soon as I did, I was scared, because I walked into the room with my guides and I was scared. So I ran back. I do the 10-step into meditation. And I ran up the stairs because I wasn't sure what to do. And then I thought, okay, well, next time I'm going to have a question ready. And after that, they started just training me. They trained me on, how to see colors, because everybody gets information a different way, and colors and symbols. And we went through a big training of symbology that they say would work with me. If they say the word be, it means this, because that's how we're going to talk to you. And I had to write it. I handwrite. I do it's kind of a download that I just start writing, and it eventually is a message. And I know, people ask me how did you learn that? I didn't learn it. It's just how it comes out. And when I'm writing, because I channel, but I do the automatic writing. And a lot of times, this is what I work with. This is my pad of paper and my pen. And sometimes, my husband will walk by and he's like, you need glasses, because I will be like this. I'm not seeing, I don't see the word. I'm writing the word.
Yeah.
One word at a time. So it's really been just incredibly awesome. And they always said, you need to get the message out. You need to get this message out, this message out, this message out. And so I just started finally doing it. And now I do it on videos and help a lot of people. That's because that's what I need to do, is help people find answers and do it through my writing.
It's amazing when you finally connect with your higher self and your spirits guides. They guide you along the way, and it just opens the doors up. And really, the only hesitation and procrastination is the one we create within ourselves, is not opening that door.
Yep. It's our boundaries, oh, I can't do that. I don't know enough. We all do. We can all do it. And that's what I try to tell people. You can do it.
And an interesting point is, and I hope that we don't overlap, because there's a little bit of a time lag I can see on this video. So I'm going to do my best to just not interrupt as you're talking. I like what you said about, your spirit guides showing you what works for you, because each one of us are not necessarily going to be like someone else's. So in the old days, I'm going to say, because we're similar in age, is you'd go to a workshop and a handful of people would get it and they would duplicate exactly the way the instructor's doing it. And then there's a lot of people in the class going, I'll never be able to do it that way or imitate it that way. But when we tap into our inner selves, to our spirit guides and our higher selves, they will show us what's unique into us. So how someone else may do it may not be the way we're going to do it. And two people can have the same message and describe it completely differently, but there will be underlying similarities and pinpoints. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. Yeah. Because we are each individual, and that's really a message I would love to give to everybody, is you're the individual. Oh, and I mean, that's one of the trending things that I kind of tap into, universal energy, not just my spirit guides, but they're always saying individuality. You're an individual as a group, you're all one, but you're each an individual. And we all have a particular way to do it. And we just can't fall into the whole of this is the only way to do it.
Exactly. And I think it's taken us decades to get here. And I think now that more people are reaching out on social media like we are now, we're seeing people being authentic and owning up to the fact that, well, I learned it this way, but I'm tweaking it and it works better for me this way. And I'm able to attract the audience or the contractees to my business because I do it a little bit differently. And so I've just learned through my own spirit guides just to be me, and so anytime I've gone into a class of any kind, I go in with a blank. I have no anticipation of it. And then say, I will get what I need out of this. It may not be what everybody else gets, but I'll get what I need. Mm-hmm. And the information can flow through that way. But it really wasn't until probably about a year or two ago that it actually sunk in that I designed my software program. I designed what I was going to do when I came into this physical avatar. And so with that being said, is why wouldn't I want to own the fact that I do things differently, that I'm not a normie, so to speak, or following a format, that it's better for me to work in this arena or in that arena, in my own flavor, my own talents, my own vibration. And so I've learned more of that. So everyone else is their buttons are going to open up when they're ready and figure out what it is that they want to do and how they want to bring messages through, because we all can do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really true. That's a really good way to explain it, because you followed that path and recognized that you don't have to do it exactly the way that they teach it. And that's really important. And it could be because it's not as thick, the barrier between us and where we get our information is not as thick, I don't think.
Right.
I think they're giving us the ability for our brains to adjust, well, and combine it with our heart, that whole circular energy that we have to have that balance. Maybe, that could be part of it, because I don't really listen to anybody. I just can't, because I don't want to be influenced. But it seems like there's still that kind of training going on, where this is the only way to do it, and this is the way, this is who you have to contact. But I think that we are getting the message from universal energy that we are, it's not a structure that can be defined.
I agree with you 1,000%. And honestly, if I had to duplicate what other people have done, I would have thrown my hands up a long time ago.
I couldn't do it. I could not. I couldn't get into what was it? Meditating. I couldn't figure it out with the way they were explaining it. So I figured I couldn't do it.
Well, I learned in my own way, because I started a lot of that stuff back in the early 90s, and I would go to meditation groups and sit there, and after the meditation was over, people would say, oh, I went here and I went there and I saw this, and I'm sitting there going, I didn't go anywhere. I felt every ache in my body. I couldn't get my butt cheek to relax. My mind went over here and I had to bring it back. And over time, I've learned that short spurts of meditation are better for me. Mm-hmm. And that actually I get a lot of messages just in walking and in my daily life, because I'm very in tune. And I'm not going to be one of those people that's going to go sit for an hour cross-legged with my fingers in this certain position, because it didn't work for me. So then as 2000, 2010, so on, if I ever did a meditation class or an end of a yoga class, I sat or laid or did whatever felt comfortable for me. And then later people would say, how did you, I go, there's nothing that says you have to sit like that. And if you're uncomfortable, you're not going to receive anything. So I'm with you. It can be a little overrated at times when you feel like you have to do it a certain way, but you got to realize that you're the full package. And if you need to break code and uncross your legs and lay flat or sit against the wall or have one eye open or stand on one leg, do it.
That's right. But I mean, I don't think we're saying there's useful things in a structure to start.
Yes.
But we have to remember that we need to expand from there.
Yes.
I think that's pretty much what we're saying.
Well, yes. And if I interpreted that differently, I apologize. It's just for me, I do agree that some people it's perfect for, but for me and my DNA and my constitution, it doesn't work as well for me. But meditation you have to be able to click into it. I just realized I clicked into it differently, and I clicked into it more easily in a non-structured environment. Does that make sense?
Absolutely does. And I think that's what people need to know.
Yes.
Is that kind of concept. Yeah. And I think we're getting closer and closer to that with more and more people.
Yes. And especially when we're releasing the old paradigms of how things were. And if you look at the success rates of certain attempts to do things, we have to let all of that go out the window and recreate. Recreate, because all these new beings that are coming in, we have to learn to tweak and adapt. And I raised one of those long before people knew what one of those was, but she could speak to the other side. And all her life, time. God doesn't have time. There is no time. Why do I have to be there at that time? There is no time. I would just bang my head against the wall, and she could talk to the other side and she would tell me things. And sometimes I'd have to look at her and say, but right now we need to be on time, and you need to tell them to be quiet because you need to listen to your mother.
That's really good too, because, like you said, you tap in anytime, right?
Yes.
I mean, you can be walking, you can be doing dishes, you can be whatever you do, and get a message. Me too. I can too. But that's so important to know when to, because I have a son also that was very intuitive and would talk about things. And but we all have to be able to say, wait a minute, wait, because I don't have a pencil right now. You're gonna have to wait until I have a pencil so I can wrate whatever you're saying down,
Yeah.
And
thank God for memo recordings now.
Yeah. And see, I'm not adept at that at all. So I say, just wait. That they're on my timing, I mean,
Oh, I have a notebook in my car, and I'll say, hang
Yeah.
on a second, wait till I get to a light. And I'm literally like, my hands on the steering wheel, I'm
Right.
looking this way, and I'm writing sideways on this little piece of paper on the seat of my car. So I'm right there with you. But you know what? I want to bring back what you said in the beginning there about learning about beta. And I think if everybody just understood what alpha, beta, theta, and delta are, if you just understood a sentence or two about each, you'd understand that the beta, when you get in there, you're in that creative juices, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're in alpha, you're in that 10 and 2, gotta do, fight, flight. This is, you're not in that relaxed state. Normally, when you walk through the door of your home, you can automatically get into beta because the phone's not going to ring and people aren't going to find you, and you can prepare a meal, or you're just more relaxed because you're out of the heavy traffic, so to speak. But of course, that's not so true now because a lot of people are working from home.
Yeah.
But getting into that beta is just taking a few deep breaths and just allowing the parasympathetic nervous system now to allow the sympathetic to stop firing, all day, and get into some creative juices. So you do have to be in beta.
Yeah,
well,
I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, it's okay.
I go to theta, the theta, just pre-sleep, where you're, and that's because my conscious brain needs to step aside for me to do what I do. And so it's theta that I think I am in, I haven't really studied any of it, but when I did the regression, that's where they put you. They take, you're trained to take a person into a theta state, which is separating your thinking, the forcefulness of your thinking brain to step aside comfortably so the other information can come up, if it's from universal energy, if it's from your higher self, or any place, and you're right. That's why once I understood that, I could do it. Once I understood that, that is such a bit of information you just shared, because that really is how I got to be able to do, to channel as easily as I do.
Yeah. But with the beta, you get the basic. With the theta, you're really getting much more direct contact, because you're allowing your body to get in such a relaxed state that your mind, I tell it to go to lunch, and the gatekeeper to take a nap and go over there, take a lunch break. I'm also trained in the QHHT and beyond quantum healing, and also traditional. And I find that some clients, it works extremely effectively. Others have to learn in their second or third session to get into that theta. But we have to quiet the ego mind of the always being alert to I'm safe, I can trust and let things come through, even if they don't make sense of what comes through. You're learning a dialogue with the guides and the universal guides. You're learning a dialogue. And then things begin to make sense. Plus, your body feels so good when it gets into those states.
Yeah. And part of it is feeling safe in that state, that your brain's not there defending everything.
Yes.
That's another part of it, is feeling comfortable, feeling safe. So that's why, being in a spot that makes you feel safe is important too.
Well, I think that's the beautiful thing about the practitioner holding that space for you. So when you're going into these portals and windows of memory or messaging, you know that when you're in this, that there's a guide there, one of us, like as a practitioner, saying, it's okay, keep going. It's okay, and dialoguing with them so they don't pop right back out of it like, whoa, that was whoa, so the practitioner can really set the tone to have a very powerful session.
Absolutely. It really is a neat thing to do.
Yes.
And then and by learning that, I'm able to get messages and help people and, channel through automatic writing, however that works. I'm still amazed. I mean, I've been doing it for quite a while, but I'm still, every day I'm like, wow, this is pretty amazing. Honestly, every single day.
So you're retired from your daily 9 to 5, so to speak. And in retirement, you're coming up with a whole new way of really presenting the authentic you, because like many of us, we've had jobs to pay the bills or work towards pension or whatever it is that we're doing. And then when we get older, we tap into the creative side of like, I've always wanted to do this, or I've always felt really compelled to do that. And so here you are channeling. And does anybody think you're off your rocker in your family?
Well, no, my husband kind of thought so when I first met him. He's like, what are you talking about? I mean, talk about structure, total structure. His entire life was military, and mine is totally not.
Mm-hmm.
So he had a little bit of a hard time wondering, what are you talking about? And then, but over time, he starts to, now he's a lot easier on messaging and all that stuff. But I think I just recently retired. I retired in August of 21, but my guides kept saying, you've got to get the message out. You've got to get the message out. Give him this message. And I'm like, I don't have time to do that, and especially because I didn't know how to video anything, but so they kept pushing me, and finally I said, okay, let me try it. And I did. And I still do funky videos, but that's the message. It's not me. It's their message that they want people to get. And I'm excited about it because they never stop. I mean, it's constant. One thing after another. This is what you need to know. This is what you need to know. This is what you need to tell them, that kind of thing. So,
yeah. Well, I know we chatted before we started the video, and you and I both have very similar starts. And it's like, okay, I don't know how to edit. I really don't know how to upload. I don't really know how to do this. I don't have the lighting. I hope that I can, and both of us got the message was just put the daggone video out, and it's the message that's going to resonate with someone or more than one. And you know what? I figured later I'll get an admin or somebody that's good at tech stuff and can fancy up my videos. But in the meantime, like you, it's just a recording and upload. I don't look at my videos after I've recorded them. I don't look at my interviews. I don't do anything, but it's not stopping me. I am just going to push that button and just go. I think a few times I've had food in my teeth. and I looked at it like later, like later. And I was like, oh, maybe I should at least get the pepper out of my teeth. Like, whatever.
Exactly. I don't either.
Lord.
I don't watch my videos after I write. After I write and I read them, I mean, I might write it tomorrow, yesterday, and I might read it tomorrow, in front of a camera or whatever. And I don't really know. I have the essence of what the message is, but I don't know the words. I don't know what they said because I'm doing the automatic writing through it. And I don't listen to mine either. I'm very much like you. I don't listen to the videos. I mean, I make sure they kind of download, but other than that, and I can't even remember really what they want. One thing after it's one thing after another, and I just let it go because I think mostly because we're in that other state that we're not consciously thinking specifically about the writings, but
Well, you inspire me because, I've tried the automatic writing and I can't read anything that I've written. It's flowing or it doesn't flow, or I know something came out, but I can't read. Sometimes it just comes out slanted on the paper
Yeah.
and everything. And I'm just like, okay, now this is more confusing. If I want to go back and look at any of it, I can't even remember, first off, because when they give me messages, I don't always remember them later.
Mhm.
So I kind of stopped doing that, and maybe I should start again. I'll see what Spirit has to say.
Yeah, well, at first it was like that. It was just, I mean, it wasn't, I couldn't read the words. And I thought, well, because I was doing it for people from the very beginning, I can't read it, they can't. And so I kind of make sure that I get a handwriting on it, spelling, forget it, punctuation, forget it. I just write. I'm not sure what the word, how to spell it. It doesn't matter how the spelling is at the time. But I started I had to train myself to at least stay close to a line, and so I finally did that. But and the reason some people say, well, why don't you type it? And I don't type it because the personality of the guide comes through the writing, as far as I'm concerned. Sometimes it's big and round and, and sometimes it's really tiny, small, small, small. It's so interesting because they talk lighter. They're very, focused. So when I write, I mean, I get that focus, and so the writing comes out differently for each guide or whatever the message is. It's really curious. So that's why, I mean, I don't think it's easy to handwrite, to do the writing part, but it's so critical to the message that the person's getting, in my estimation.
Yes, and there's something about the brain into the hand and the hand back into the brain. And unfortunately, we've gotten away from a lot of that in school. So these kids are not getting it. Whereas, the
Typing.
textile of just the typing, and they even took a lot of the kids out of handwriting back in the 90s. If they had attention deficit and things like that, they just took that away. And they did it to my daughter too. And just said, we'll just use a laptop or type everything. And it was easier for me because I didn't have to struggle with getting her to finish her homework. But at the same time, I always felt bad because I knew that somewhere in the brain, this patterning of the movement of the hand is important. But I love what you're saying, because this can inspire people to sit down and maybe try some automatic writing. Because now when you were saying that, I remember going really small and going really big. And I thought, gosh, did I have brain damage somewhere? Because this is just like, it was so labor intensive sometimes. And then to go back and look at it, I thought, what? I'm doing something completely wrong here. Mm-hmm. So I just slowly just gave it up. But you're inspiring me to go back and take a look at that. And I would encourage anyone listening to this video, to reach out to the Unlikely Channeler and see if you can get some more information on how you might be able to get your own information through this technique. And it's a technique a lot of people don't use a lot of. So I applaud you for doing this.
Well, thank you. Yeah, It's the way I do it. And I think what we are saying is just give different things a try. Don't think it has to be exact, precisely like somebody else says it should be. You know, just give it a try and see what happens, but don't have a fixed expectation on it.
Yeah. And I like what you said about the punctuation and the spelling, because those are two things that I don't grasp very well. And I think I learned back in my early 40s when I did a vision quest that spirit doesn't have punctuations and spirit doesn't have the absolute spelling, that's all been creative to funnel all of this information into a very narrow straw to make it a language. Which is why it's difficult to explain the heart. When you have a feeling from the heart and you're trying to explain these feelings with the vocabulary that you've been taught, you never can quite explain it. You're just hoping that the other person catches the feeling of what it is that you're trying to say.
That's really, yeah, that's true. It is very true.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I'm finding there's a lot more people in this older age bracket that are extremely talented and have the courage to take these talents out into the public eye. The youngins are a little easier with it because they were born and raised pretty much with these kinds of social medias. They started out with MySpace and all these little chat rooms and this and that, then doing videos. And, I grew up not having any of that. So when we got computers, it was, can you fix this? Can you turn this on? How do I work this? How do I do that? I still have to do it. My grandkids just think they're like, they call me like the one finger texter. They go, oh yeah, she just does this. And I'm like, it's easier than my fat fingers on the keyboard. But we have so much that we came in with in this lifetime. And then to be at this point in our life, to be able to, I don't think Spirit's giving us much of a choice. They're basically like, you got to do this and just go do it. And we'll figure out the rest later. Do you feel like that's your case as well? Do you feel like you've always kind of had this experience? I know you talked about having a person or a guide or somebody you were always talking to in your younger years.
Yes, I always had it, and I kept it quiet, kept it under the covers, I really did. And then, I just kept getting pushed to start talking about it. Although I'd help people with numerology and things like that. And I realized there's other information coming from besides just that number. And I'm like, okay, well, that's pretty cool, But yeah, I've investigated who I was talking to when I was probably 6 or 7 years old, walking home from school every single day. And there was always 28 people behind me, 28 kids lined up behind me. I made sure they were lined up behind me. And to me, that's important to say because I made them all line up. And I was always talking to them. And I was always, my sisters would say, what are you teaching? What are you telling them? And I'm, I don't know what I was telling them, but I asked recently. And what I was doing was I was preparing, what did they say? I was preparing people that are coming, souls that are coming to the earth, letting them know what earth is like to live on. That's what I was doing.
Wow.
So I've been doing that since I was very young. It was in 1st through 4th grade that I walked home from school and I was teaching. That's what I was doing. I said, what was I doing? And that's what they said. And there's other things that have happened that just opened up my thoughts to it's just not us here. Of course, I grew up in Southern. I know I'm kind of rambling right now.
No. Keep going.
I grew up in Southern Colorado, and there was a lot of UFO activity. It was. You'd see it all the time in a way that And I don't really get into the UFO, the ET, the stuff I don't get into that, but it gave, for a very strict person, which I think I am, I'm very stiff and strict. It gave me and my family a different outlook about what is here, what isn't here. We all think it's solid. So we just constantly saw things moving in the sky. And in the 60s, things didn't move in the sky, and we were in a very small town then also. So, all this stuff has just happened through my life that finally came to all made sense. It all kind of converged, and that's, so I can use numerology if somebody has a question, and they'll give me a number. And so then I can relay that number to the person, or crystals and stones, all that learning that I did has finally come to, I've realized I was looking at that so that now I would have it, and it would be a resource or a tool to use to help other people. It's been pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't have any, what I thought was visitors in that way. I mean, I'm one of 5 children, grew up rather religious, so nothing outside of what you saw was ever available. Nothing outside of the Bible had any importance. But my sister always told me I was an alien from the time I was born. And I used to always know that I was different, but I didn't understand how until I got into my 30s and was in massage school, when I realized that I'm clairsentient. I just know stuff. I've always just known things. And I've always been what I call clairvisual, because I'll get like a picture of something or a little mini film of something, and I can translate the information. And then as a child, children and animals would flock to me. And even the craziest dogs that people will be afraid of would just come sit by me. But it really wasn't until I was a lot older that I understood that I came in very connected, and I just knew things. And if I had a dream about something, I longed to jump back up in my bunk bed the next night and go back over the dream and change it around, and, all kinds of stuff. I mean, I loved doing that. And just recently I was in North Carolina visiting my daughter, and she said something like, Mom, you're like a gypsy, and you're not anything like any of your family. And I said, no, I mean, I kind of got into like astrology, and I had to hide that. And I got into tarot cards all through my 20s, and I had to hide that. And then it just keeps evolving. And I see things in the sky as well. And the last 2 years, my visual sight, I see colors, I see energy, I see movement, I see beings, I see my guides. And I was at a bonfire on New Year's Eve, and the smoke's going, and it's 70 degrees out, and people are talking, and I look up and I see what I see. And then I'm like, did I just see that to myself? And then it would move over here, and then it would be like a shadow, and then I'd see little twinkles, and then I go, one of my guides looks like that too. And so then I saw this I would look this way, and I'd see this flash, flash, and then it would disappear in the dark. And then I'm like, okay, I know what I'm seeing. But I couldn't say anything to anybody, and I couldn't say anything to my daughter the next morning, like, yeah, well, there's a couple ships in the sky. And she would have been like, okay, Mom, it's time for the meds.
Yeah.
I can just hear it now. Okay, Mom, maybe it's time you go back to DC, because I don't
want to talk about that.
But I grew up in the 60s too. And it's like, there was, we were there in the incarnation of, the Rolling Stones and Zeppelin and all these things, these great artists that everyone listens to now. And, peace, not war, because the Vietnam War was going on. That's all we'd see on television. And those are the light beings that came before us, saying, let's not have war, and I knew that they weren't all pot smoking junkies. I knew that.
Yeah, that's
but you
interesting.
couldn't tell the adults any of that. I would be like, no, they have a different essence about them. They're in their heart center. They're starting a wave. But I knew that I probably was, I was in grade school in the 60s. So I just knew that kind of stuff. And now I think we're coming full circle where people are able to look back and see where the waves started. Mm-hmm. And that's how I know I'm a first waver, because I came in with that, just sort of, we're not here alone.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. I don't think about stuff like that, but yeah, I think that group of people really did do that kind of stuff for us. They were introducing us, kind of warming us up, maybe.
Yeah.
And you were totally keyed into that.
Totally
I was talking to my 28 people behind me, so
Yeah, but see, we had it differently because we all come into this universe programmed with different gifts, and it's not really a gift. It's skills. That's what it is. It's not a gift. It's skills, and it's skills that we've learned from multiple lifetimes, in multiple knocks and bangs, and multiple not making it because we didn't follow through. So it's a road traveled around the universes is what's housed here right now. And so what you may do, that what works for you might be a little bit different than what I do, but we're tapped in to this divine energy, knowing that we are more than just this hardware, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. And yeah, all of our previous lives really do lead into what we do now.
Yeah, I mean, I encourage people to find something that you feel that connects you, and then hone in on it and skill it, because that should be your freaking job. And I'm serious. Yeah. And yeah. I'm kind of a point blank talker. And if my guides will come through sometimes, and I'll be like, sit your ass down, and that's what you're going to do, because that's your job. Everything else will fall into place. And I'm so looking forward to these younger people being able to branch out in their teens and their 20s and be able to express all of this, and then find jobs or create their own job that supports the spiritual side, because the financial side will find its way.
Yeah, it'll
find its way.
It will.
We've just been led by the wrong. I don't want to say the wrong. We're weaning out of the way we've learned it before, ego-driven. We have to have our ego, so I don't ever talk bad about it, but it's not in our driver's seat anymore. The heart needs to be in our driver's seat, and we need to find these skills somewhere within ourselves, and then start, whether it's automatic writing, whether it's sitting in longer or shorter meditation, whether it's artwork. And I will say this, one of the things that will help everybody get started is when you make appointments with the Unlikely Channeler or myself, and we can help at least put you on the path so that you can figure out, oh, actually, my talent and skill is actually over here, and I didn't realize that. So we can help save you a lot of headaches and knocks, hopefully, because we've gone through them.
Yeah, and with the help of their guides, they honestly, sometimes it's from left to right, and from one extreme to the other, and they're like, well, I don't understand what that means, but that's exactly right. It's we can help maybe just narrow the thinking, narrow into more of what you should be focusing on.
Yeah, because I don't know about you, but for me, when I get stuck, I have to reach out to another healer. I have to have a session with somebody, and I'll get confirmation back. So I do less of that now, but for the longest time because we are our own worst enemy. We second guess ourselves. And if you have someone that you can partner up with and have a mentor and guide you, you can skip some of those pathways that may lead you to a dead end, but no dead end is a bad dead end. It's just a different lesson. And you may not want to go down that dead end again. So we can help you with that. Definitely help you with that. And it doesn't have to be complicated. And I think that's what you and I were saying earlier. It doesn't have to be rocket science. It can be understood in the scope of the language that you have within yourself and keep it simple.
Definitely.
So how have you found the energy to be lately? I know your messages have been pretty cool. You were talking about the 222 and we have a 6-year, and I mean, I have an idea of what my guides are saying moving forward, but do you have any idea of how you feel like we've come from, where we are now, and kind of where we're going?
Yeah,
that might help people.
I'm still getting the message that it's going to be tough. The next month or so is going to be just really tough. But what we're doing, this is what I'm pretty sure what they're saying is what we're doing is we're getting to the point. It's kind of like in our lives. You're getting to the point where you see what's been going on. You see what the results are. And you know that some change has to happen. Some kind of movement needs to happen. And so that's what I'm seeing. The middle of the year looking good. The beginning of this year is not looking so good, but it's our challenge. It's the things that we each as a humanity, it's not just individual anymore. What the humanity as a whole has learned. And from that, we are going to expand into the new things that we're going to be doing. And they constantly say, you need to think of yourselves. You need to think of your own sovereignty. I mean, it's sovereignty, sovereignty, sovereignty. You need to think of your own sovereignty because they call them the power elite or the evil doers. They will control until either they will control or you will take on your sovereignty and live the lives that all of us have decided to pursue in this lifetime. And that is not what it has been. You know, it's not when you look back, it's not what the way we've been living is very controlled, and it shouldn't be. It should be individual. It should be heart-centered. It should be being happy doing what you do, whatever it is. You know, like you said, find what you're good at as far as the intuitive stuff. But they also want you to find what you love most, what brings you the most happiness. And money's not going to be an object. Time's not going to be an object. I say wonderful, but that's kind of the message I'm getting.
That's awesome. That's very hopeful too. Mm-hmm. You know, we have to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I mean, that's an old cliche and an old expression. I knew that we were going to, 2021 was going to be a lot of sifting through and awakening. I really felt like December was, you know, we already kind of know that the puppet makers are gone. The puppet masters, most of them are gone. And now what we have is the residual puppeteers who still think they're connected, and everyone's seeing that they're not. And it's going to like dip us from the gray area into a little bit of a darker gray to the dark. And then it's going to zip back up. And I'm getting more along the lines of, I think April, we're going to see some reprieve. And I think we're going to see, you know, we don't have to let the teapot boil over to know that the water's hot, you know, so to speak. Mm-hmm. More and more people are thinking, you know, governments around the world just don't have it right anymore. And we need to change and not just tweak, just completely obliterate and change things. And this in turn will liberate those who have been doing a lot of their work. And for those who haven't, they're going to have to learn that they're not attached anymore, because some people just get really comfortable being in this box. And then when you take the box away, they want to stay in the box because they don't quite know how to venture away from it too far without running back to it. Because some people like to be told what to do. They like to be told what direction. And so this is going to really permeate the right brain, which is the creative side. We've been raised on you're nothing without that left brain IQ. And so really what we're doing is we're shrinking that and we're going into the right brain and the heart IQ. And so that is unfamiliar to a lot of people. And to people like myself, I can speak, who came in very empathic and learned how to hone being empathic to being an acute skill. I mean, an acute skill. And so that's filtering the information, right? And so people are going to have to learn to understand that they have that ability. Now they just need to hone it in. And how do you allow that empathic energy to filter through the body, and then allow it to show you what directions to go in, and don't be afraid to dip your toe into waters that's unfamiliar. And it's okay if you remove your toe, and it's okay if you go in head first, and it's okay if you just wade in. The point is we need to get into this creative right brain heart IQ, period, which is going to be very unfamiliar for many. And I think people like you and I are going to be able to be there to help others know that there is no handbook. Write your own. Yeah. Write your own handbook. You know, I learned that a long time ago when I moved to a place, and I'm like, how come there's no networking or coffee things and to join? I don't know. I couldn't find one either. I go, fine, I'm going to create one, because that's just me. It's like, I don't know anybody, but I'm going to create one. So I might have that skill, and someone might else have a little bit of an organization skill, or so we're all going to come together, and it's not just going to be individuals or small tribes. It's going to be communities are going to form very quickly into making this change. And so those are the messages that I get. Once people realize that we are not really being controlled anymore. We're not, they're gone. And the matrices have changed, and the beings are here trying to knock on your door and let you know, and you need to get into that beta and that theta that we talked about earlier, and understand that there's so much more to you than just reading a book. Everything's in here. Write your own book.
Wow. Yeah. I think that's pretty similar to what I understand and what I receive. But there's the nice part about it is it doesn't give you the person a way out, but there's going to be galactic help tuning us into these different things. So it's not going to be like not like hitting a door, like it's going to be, they're softening, they're making it a little more understandable right now. So even though it's going to be an absolute change, like you have described beautifully, they're saying that they're helping. I just wrote something yesterday or the day before that they're out there giving that kind of energy, some helpful energy, so it's easily understood, even though we won't forget the lessons that we've been learning, because we can't let it happen again, but letting us, giving us an easier way to move from one vibration to the next one that we're heading for.
Yes. And I also get the background noise that we've all lived with, those frequencies of subliminal this, subliminal that, things that we don't even tune into, that's dissipated and will no longer have an effect on the being. So those frequencies are cut off now. So for me personally, December was, I want to call I used to describe how I would feel sometimes as flatlined, and then things would happen and I'd get a few beats on there. But December was very up and down flatline for me because I was really feeling that disconnection from old frequency, and then learning to tune in more with the new frequencies that are here to uplift us, to say, oh, I see differently now. There's a broader view than just,
Mhm.
but the other thing is not to be distracted by all the nuttiness that's going to occur, because people won't understand. So there are people like us out there that do understand, that can help guide.
Yeah, we can help.
And I'm waiting to see what that looks like and unfolds. I have no, platform or agenda. I'll know what that is when things begin to occur. Spirit has told me, stay in the moment, stay in your lane, broaden your lens, but stay in your lane, mind your business. You're not a fixer. You're not a problem solver for others. Work on yourself, strengthen yourself. And when the time comes, we will show you what this will all look like and what you'll be doing. But in the meantime, I have to keep myself in a place where I just don't do all the things I used to do with all the people I used to do. They've kind of fallen by the wayside, and it's left for some lonely times, but I've never been alone. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely never. Yeah.
Yeah. So an isolated time. So it sounds like we're getting some of the same messages, just a little bit different verbiage, but I do see us moving forward in a very pleasant way. I don't think that we're going to have the doom and gloom that some are predicting. And again, I say stay away from those, because you'll feed a timeline that you don't want to see those results.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we are we're looking to some very good, getting back to really good stuff.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I know we're going to do this again, but for the time being, what is the best way for our viewers to get a hold of you?
Oh, okay. Thank you. Through email at Gmail. I'm at theunlikelychanneler@gmail.com.
theunlikelychanneler@gmail.com. And I will also put that in the notes. So if people email you, would you like something in the subject line so that they're coming from or for a session or information, and it's not junk?
Oh no, it's okay. They can put something in the reference line if they want to. I try to get to everyone.
Oh, that's good. I delete probably like 80% of my stuff from my different emails daily.
Do you? I'm also, I also do all my YouTube and BitChute under the same name. So
okay. So we'll put those links in the description as well. So before we sign off, is there anything that you would like to share with our viewers?
No, what I would like to close with is just think of sovereignty as your individual, but you also have to start looking towards how are you going to design your future? How is your future going to look? Because that's really key in how this year is going to go, is knowing what you want and knowing that what you don't want, but to focus on the energies and the things that will make you most happy for the forever. Let's start honing in on those things.
Yeah, I agree with you. And be authentic with your list. Really ask your heart what would make it the happiest, and what would you like to see from the close-knit residency to your home, but also expanding out to communities, states, what countries. What would you like to see? What would you like to see in our waters? What would you like to see in our foods?
Mm-hmm.
Get with it, really open that up. I love that idea. So we do
just everything.
Yeah. And just be into that place, and also to tap in, look up your alpha, beta, theta, and look into just what those mean. And then if you decide any of the viewers want to move forward with being the better you that you can be in this universe while we're making these changes, reach out to one of us. We're happy to guide you. So in the meantime, the Unlikely Channeler, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll do this again soon. And to all of you, just enjoy your week the best you can. We're here for you. Bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.